Thanks for pressing play. This is Saints of Cinema. I'm Timothy Winterstein.
And I'm Jay Winterstein.
If you want to get a hold of us, you can find us on the internet, saintsofcinema.com. Send us an email, saintsofcinemapod@gmail.com. You can find us on Facebook. And I did put the most recent episode on X, so that's sort of up to date. Instagram and, website. This is on YouTube, which you know if you're watching it. And this is episode 94. 94. We are 6 episodes away from 100.
The countdown is ongoing.
So before we get into this, we had an interesting discussion the other day about a film where I was like, Jay, I don't think that it's 4.5. And you're like, I think it's more than 3. And so we both adjusted
because you gave it a 3.
Which is weird because normally I'm a high ranker, higher than I often will rank things immediately higher than I actually.
And in all fairness, I do too. I think
this one I went lower for some reason. I don't know.
I really, really wanted to like that film going in. And since I liked it, I think that bumped up my star rating because I did like it. But maybe going in with
you did.
Yes. Going in with kind of a mindset of I'm really going to like this film. I watched it. I liked it. Confirmed 4.5 stars. I think in hindsight, looking back, it's probably a 4-star film.
We're talking about the film The Drama with Robert Pattinson and Zendaya, who are apparently in every film now that's
and Tom Holland.
Yeah.
But
Tom Holland's not in that.
But it does seem like there's a lot of the same actors.
Yeah. Spider-Man.
Dune.
Wait,
Pattinson, Zendaya. Tom Holland's not in Dune.
Unless Spider-Man shows up and they do a little crossover.
True. Multiverse.
But so our last episode, we did Obsession and Together. And then I watched the show Something Very Bad Is Going to Happen, which is, it's on Netflix, and it's basically, as it goes, you find out that if you are not marrying your soulmate, something very bad is going to happen. Hence the title of the film.
Okay.
So basically it introduces this idea that if you're not marrying your soulmate, if there's any doubt at all, bad things will happen. And I'm not going to give the spoiler of it, but I think but once you introduce that doubt, I hate the language of soulmate, but once you introduce that doubt about it, and you're like, I'm marrying my soulmate. And then there's somebody's like, are you sure? And then all of a sudden, which is similar a little bit like The Drama. And so I don't know what's in the air or the water. I'm doing a wedding in 2 days, so it's in my mind as well. Not the soulmate stuff.
You're going to bring up the show. Wait, it's a show or a movie?
Yeah. This
show.
Something Very Bad Is Going to Happen is a show. So after we finished it, I said to my wife, should I use this in my sermon I'm not going to, because that would be bad.
It'd be bad if they're not soulmates.
I could probably make it work, but anyway, there's something dealing with relationships and what's happening between people and whether they're really in love or things that cast doubt on that, which is an interesting thing, because you might think that our culture's moved beyond who cares about marriage. This is always surprising to me that people still get married, because all of the evidence says you should not. All the cultural evidence, all of the cultural movement direction is away from those kinds of that kind of for our culture, semi-permanent relationship. And yet people just keep doing it. And It's, it's a
That's
little,
true.
it was just, it's a little surprising sometimes. Anyway, all of that to say
Which
that
leads us into
it doesn't. Segue. And so,
it's
how many of you have seen the Odyssey? No, I mean Zendaya and Robert Pattinson and Tom Holland. I guess that's the segue. But this is something we have another idea for an upcoming show. But since we've both seen it, I thought let's just put it. I
it's
mean, everybody else is saying what they want to say.
it's I think as of right now it's got to be the film of the year, and I don't mean that by I'm not going to say it's the best film of the year, but I think it's the film of the year right now. I think in terms of all the discourse around it, all the talk around it. There's so much around. It's
Yeah.
gone beyond just a film, and it's a big it's a cultural thing right now. It's the big thing going on.
So I saw it on, I don't know, technically, but it was on the Friday it opened. I don't know technically if there were some Thursday night screenings, but
Yeah, I saw it Thursday.
so I saw it that Friday, and then with my one son and one daughter and our brother, and then my I was my wife and other son. They weren't, for some reason they decided they didn't want to come with us. So, but instead they went and saw it in a different theater the same night. So I don't know.
I
I guess they just didn't want to see it with us.
could take a hint.
But but they had a completely different reaction than I. I mean, I was like,
Oh, really?
this is. I may not like every single thing about it, but this is a good movie. It's a.
So they didn't
It's
like
just,
it.
no, they didn't like it, and they.
What?
So the things that they mentioned were they didn't like some of the anachronistic sort of language, which I can deal with. I don't.
That's yeah. That's the thing that's been brought up. That's a thing.
Uh, so I read a translation of the Odyssey before I saw it, which I had never read. I mean, I feel like in sort of Western humanities, the general story is in the water. You know some of the scenes, maybe the basic idea, but I hadn't ever read it. And the translation I read, I wish I'd picked another one, but it was the one I had. Um, I've heard described as the NIV, which, if you don't know your Bible translations, the New International Version, which is it's kind of a night. I don't know. Actually, I think it came out in like '84 or something like this. So it's like a late '80s, early '90s sort of attempt to render the biblical language sort of intelligible to modern ears, right? And
Okay.
so, but when you do that, you know, language changes so quickly, especially now, that when you do that, it tends to clank a little bit in not too many years, right? So some of the way the language is in that translation doesn't take too much time before it's a little clanky. It's a little,
Yeah.
it sort of doesn't sound as beautiful, or doesn't quite work anymore. And I think so. This translation of the Odyssey, it has some of that sort of trying to be kind of make it intelligible to modern readers.
Do you remember who wrote it?
Yeah,
Who
it's
did the?
it's Robert Fagles, who's as
Okay.
far as I can tell, respected. It's not like
I've heard
he's
that's one of the
bad or
one of
something.
the more traditional. Like it's like a
It's
fairly
it's
common.
it's easy to read, and I
Yeah.
think that's probably part of the appeal. Anyway, so there were some anachronisms in that I felt. And so maybe for me going into it the movie was actually less or fewer sort of language issues for me. There are a few, like my dad is coming home. For me, that, which
Yeah.
probably other people have meant.
Telemachus.
But honestly, it wasn't as distracting as I feared it might be for
Okay.
me in the movie.
Yeah. So that was their main thing was the kind of language.
that, and they did not like Robert Pattinson's character, which for I was like, he's the maybe the best.
Okay. I walked
Okay,
out.
top three. Top. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
I walked out, and that Robert, I think that's the best I've ever seen Pattinson. And I guess he's a main character. I don't know. I mean, he's not.
Yeah, he's the main suitor, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, right. And I absolutely loved his character.
Me too.
I think Carrie was like, I don't like Robert Pattinson, but I think that's because she likes Robert Pattinson. She just didn't like she didn't like him
Yeah.
being like this mean and nasty boy. But I thought that was top performance for me. Number one.
Yeah. So my top: Anne Hathaway, John Leguizamo, Robert Pattinson. For me,
Okay.
top three.
I'm go Pattinson, Leguizamo, and I don't have a number three.
Okay.
I mean, Anne Hathaway was fine.
Yeah.
I think she was fine in the way that Matt Damon was fine. Like Matt Damon was good. He's good. He fit the role. He did his job, and I believed him. And I think Anne Hathaway was the same way. She was good. She fit the role. I believed her, but it wasn't. I don't know. Something about maybe it's because it was Pattinson and Leguizamo doing characters that they don't typically do. Because I think Matt Damon's character is something that I don't know, maybe similar to other characters that he's done. Kind of like that's kind of I don't know, his kind of role, I guess. And I think Leguizamo, I've never seen him do anything
No.
like that.
No, I
And
agree. I agree.
and Pattinson was, I don't know, he was just a really good bad guy. Yeah.
Yeah. He's sort of charming enough and also slimy enough
Yeah.
that he goes back and forth between those two sides of sort of this guy who really wants to be the king of Ithaca, and yet, but he doesn't want to show all his cards, but his cards are he's a coward and he's using other people to get ahead.
Yeah.
So
Which
I mean,
becomes very evident at the end.
I thought I just thought the complexity of, I mean, his may be the most complex character in the film, the most sort of faceted character. You kind of know, what everybody else is after, but he's doing kind of all sorts of sides. He's not. Yeah. So I don't know. I thought his it would be right there.
Yeah.
And like you said, Leguizamo is doing something that changes from the poem, but well done.
I don't know that I'm trying to think of the last thing I saw Leguizamo do.
I mean, I don't think he's been in a ton of stuff.
Yeah,
recently.
he's an interesting casting choice because like where did that come from? Like how do you see that? How do you look at Leguizamo and say yes, he's right for the role? But he was.
Yeah.
I think
that's not how when I think of him in sort of like, I don't know, he's playing some character in New York City, or I mean,
yeah,
I don't know.
Right.
Or,
that's a Leguizamo character running around like,
yeah,
hey man, I don't know, doing some New York accent.
Yeah, I just thought, because I was unsure how I was going to feel about that casting choice. Speaking of casting, this is what really bothers me, and I wish people would let the film stand on its own, because you had all of these people talking about casting beforehand.
Yes.
Ellen Elliott Page. You've got you have whether or not Lupita Nyong'o should be Helen. Right? You have those discussions going on when they're not, when those characters are hardly in the film. And honestly, Elliot Page, pretty good performance, I thought.
Really?
Maybe I thought okay, the first scene at the Trojan Horse, I was, okay, whatever. But I thought the scene at Hades pretty well done.
Okay.
Not on the top of my listing of acting,
Okay.
but better than I expected.
If we're gonna talk casting,
So let's go to the bottom side. Is that where you're going?
okay, let's do that. And it was hard. It was kind of hard to escape all that talk about the casting because that seemed to be one of the first things that came out. And then I think once that came out, it kind of started rolling and started picking up steam. And then it turned into like Nolan's making a woke film
Yeah.
based on this casting because I don't know where it started. I don't know how it came out, but this idea that Elliot Page was going to be playing Achilles, and then, which I don't know. I still don't know where it came from.
Yeah.
And then so they'll
somebody
show
somebody just made that up and put it out on the internet, and people just ran with it. I don't understand that kind of thing.
and then obviously you show Achilles, like,
Brad
and then
Pitt.
you like, oh, this is who Achilles is, and show Brad Pitt from Troy, and this is what Achilles is supposed to be. This is what he is traditionally in the poem. All this stuff, and then they'll do like a side by side.
And Page's character is not even in the Odyssey.
Right. It was
character.
from some other. Was it Dante?
The Aeneid. I think it's from the Aeneid.
Okay.
So, but what I really dislike is making a film into a proxy for a culture war. I really hate it. And it happened. My problem. This happened. What I really disliked. What's the one that Jim Caviezel was in, or the trafficking movie? What was that?
Oh yeah, I watched that. Yeah, something about freedom.
So I thought it was an okay movie, right?
Yeah, I think it was.
But it became a proxy for a culture war.
Got it.
And I really dislike that sort of thing, where you say, I love this film because it says the thing I want it to say, or I hate this film because it doesn't say the thing that and I'm not even sure the film is saying the thing you think it's saying, but because the dialogue and the discourse becomes around those things, or rises up around those things, then you have to take a side. I really dislike that.
And then it turns into, well, if you're on this side, then you have to love this film. If you're on this side, then you have to, essentially the media,
stupid.
like this is the kind of film it is. So if you're on this side, then you have to like it. If you're on this side, you have to like it, or you have to not like it. Right. And it's, okay. So going back to the casting. So, and that was kind of like the main thing to call it woke or whatever. And Elon Musk got into it and said, and it kind of just, and I think it came about because of the casting choices. And I will say, when Elliot Page was on there, it's distracting.
It's a little distracting. It shorter than any warrior should be. And I
don't understand that choice at all. I really don't. And I haven't heard Nolan come out and say, this is why this person is perfect for this role.
Maybe he should. He doesn't have to justify himself, but
okay, to that. So Travis Scott was another one that was kind of like, I don't know, is he right for that role? But Nolan did come out and say, Travis Scott is a musical artist. He's a rap artist. And with rap, there's like this oral history that goes back, blah, blah, blah. And because of that, he fits this character who's this, like, I don't know what the bard character or whatever it is, who's speaking this, something that has a similar oral history that goes back, changes over time. So it's similar to rap. So that's why I chose.
That's not a, you could have anybody doing that and still have the same idea in your head, right?
I think he's absolutely wrong. And I think, because it doesn't make sense, because what you're doing when you're creating a film, when Christopher Nolan's making a film, he's creating a world. He's got these characters in a world, and you want those characters to be a part of that world. So when you're looking at this world, you don't want to be
Yeah.
thinking,
Right. A rap.
well,
Yeah. A modern
Travis
rapper.
Scott, he's a
Yes.
rapper, so that's why he fits for this role. Because
Yeah. I
you're
know.
trying to put two worlds together at the same time you're trying to create this one world, and it doesn't work at all. You don't want to be looking
Yeah.
at each of the actors and say, "Oh,
Yeah.
Matt Damon, well, he did Bourne Ultimatum, so therefore I see how that fits in." Like, no. So I
In Good Will Hunting, he was.
so therefore he worked. So I don't. So that was another one. I
Yeah,
think
okay.
maybe just
I
mainly
thought
based.
the character was. I thought the character was fine. Because
Yeah, no, I know. I don't mind him. I just don't. I don't like Nolan's explanation or reasoning
Yeah.
for putting him in that role. Because then,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
because then again, he was another one that it kind of didn't really work for me. And anytime it doesn't work and it takes you out of that world, takes you out of the film, it's distracting and it ruins the film. But I'm glad there weren't enough scenes or
Yeah.
like long
Okay.
scenes where, because it was enough to take you out of the film, but the scenes were pretty short and then you could jump back in and then like,
Yeah,
okay.
and that's how I felt about some of the language. It wasn't enough to like cringe a little bit, and then I was like, okay, fine, and then I moved, like the film moves on. So,
Yeah.
and there were other things where I was like, I don't know if that was the choice that if I were making it that I would have made to cut or to put something in or to combine things or whatever. Yeah, so that was one thing, that Calypso's island and the feeding him the lotus flower, like that's a separate scene. The lotus flowers, the island of the lotus eaters is a different, that's a different scene. She's not doing this, but she is kind of holding him captive and keeping him, trying to keep him from going home.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't think she was given as enough to do. I don't think that character maybe was given enough. But and then some people were annoyed that they cut out the long time that he was with Cersei, but I
Because that
thought
was like a
that's
couple of years, right?
like a year. Yeah,
And
I think.
he was like having an affair with her, I believe, right?
Yeah, because but he's also given a potion by Hermes or some another to not fall under her spell. But yeah, so there is he spends quite a bit of time there. I didn't mind that scene as much, mainly because turning into pigs was so visually impressive.
Fantastic.
That I
Fantastic.
maybe my favorite, other than, I really like the Cyclops, and there are people complaining about not about cutting out the nobody sort of cleverness of
Oh,
Odysseus in the cave of the Cyclops. But man, that I was impressed with the way the Cyclops looked. I
you
liked
went
the
with like
sideways.
the side, yeah, the side head.
I liked that the eye was sideways,
Yeah.
which changed. And he said he sort of was inspired by Guillermo del Toro's way of dealing with monsters, making them sympathetic characters. The choices he made might not have been the choices that I would have like. This is what stands out to me, but that's sort of the point, right? Like I'm not. I was annoyed with some of the things they did with Lord of the Rings too, even though now those movies are sort of beloved by a lot of people. There were
Yeah.
some things in there that I was sort of annoyed that he didn't include. I mean, I think most people like Lord of the Rings were annoyed that Tom Bombadil was not in the film, any of the films. If you've read Lord of the Rings,
I
you know.
actually haven't.
My point is that overall, there are things that I might have thought that I was like, I wish that had been like this, and it wasn't. But that's, who has ever seen a movie and be like, that's exactly how I imagined it. Those are all the choices I would have made. I would have cut out exactly those things. I would have combined those things or shortened
Yeah.
them or would have lengthened them or whatever. And you know, Nolan is a lot of people didn't like Tenet. I I thought it was great.
Yeah.
I'm a and I didn't see it in the theater. The sound design is still sort of a problem. I think I heard, Tenet. You can understand the people talking. I didn't see it in the theater. But I did have to put on subtitles when I watch it at home.
Hmm.
Some of the dialogue is very quiet. This is very loud, and you know, so I think the sound design is a question. But I mean, overall, like it's just it's an engaging adventure movie, I think. And
Yeah.
the annoying thing is like suddenly everybody's a classics expert. Everybody's a classicist. Everybody knows ancient Greek. Everybody's like, well, this is the way it should have been. This is what it really means. And this is one of the most interesting cultural things that I think has happened around this movie is that he used, I think, mainly this translation by this,
Oh,
this newer
Emily.
translation.
Is it,
Emily,
is it
yeah,
Watson? Or
no,
do I
that's
just
the
want to say that?
actress.
Okay.
That's the actress.
Okay.
And so everybody's like, "Well, he's using this feminist translation," and then she's like, "I didn't like it at all because
Oh yeah.
she's
Oh yeah. She hated it,
she
like,
wrote a
right?
long op-ed about it." And
Yeah.
so to me, then you have people who were who were against it because it was so-called woke, and then they're praising her criticism. I'm like, wait, which side are you on actually? Because
Well,
if
once you've
either
chosen a
you like that
side,
he used the
yeah.
translation or you didn't like that, but now you like that the translator is like, so that means that he didn't do what she wanted. So aren't you the
Yeah.
enemy of my enemy is my friend? Or I don't know. Um, I just thought that like that's the sort of strange thing that happens when it's all about the culture war. Instead, you have to let it be. You have to let it be what it is. And let the thing stand as it. But maybe you can't. Maybe people can't do that.
I think anytime you adapt a film from a book, the first thing people are going to go after is these are the differences. This is what he did include. This is what he didn't include. I think because if a film is being adapted from a book, then chances are it was a very popular book,
Yeah,
and people
true.
loved it. And if people love a book, then they're attached to it and they want to see this is how it was in my head, and so they want to see it on
Yeah,
screen. And so I think it's a very easy criticism to make, or very easy thing to talk about is, well, I've seen the book, so let me tell you. And because that seems to be a lot of the things that people want to talk about, or that's the number one thing that gets brought up is, well, how is it different from the book? And I I don't mind that Christopher Nolan made it his own. I mean, that's what you have to do as a
otherwise why do it?
filmmaker.
Why do it? There's a bunch of
Right.
versions of this out there. I didn't realize actually how many film versions there are of parts of the Odyssey.
Yeah, there's like what,
um,
The Return, which I hadn't heard of before,
I had heard of it but I hadn't seen it,
and
but
then
now I'm kind of interested.
Troy, I
Which
guess
is
it's
not
part.
what
I don't know.
whatever is that in the Iliad though, where the
I don't remember. I might
I
have made
read
it up.
see
I haven't seen Troy in a while.
I admit I'm not a classicist. So I was just reading this. I've got to read these books on sort of aesthetics and got Gottfried. I should probably know. Lessing is his name, and he's a German, from 18th century, uh, and so he has this book on the different. It's basically the differences between painting and poetry, and he talks about how what you can't in a painting or a sculpture you can't represent. There are certain limits to what you can do because it's a
Yeah,
moment, it's
yeah,
one moment. And then he talks about poetry. He's like, you can do a lot more because you can go what happens in succession. You can do what happens before, what happens after, all these kinds of things that you can't do with a painting or a sculpture. And I think it's interesting to think about that in terms of films because what you have a story that's ongoing, but you also have visual. And when you have to make choices in the visuals, decisions about how it's going to look in a way that that you don't have to
Mm,
do if you're writing it. And I think that some of the
okay.
criticism based on the books are based on is fundamentally misunderstanding what a film is, because
There. Yeah. Right. Right.
you can't do some of the things that you can do because it has to be depicted visually, and you could do things with words that you can't do if you have to show it visually. I mean, we had this discussion about The Chosen, and maybe this is an upcoming one when the season gets released, but you know, there's decisions you have to make that are not in the text, and
Mm,
you have to
right.
decide. And so he cuts short the journey back from Calypso's island to Ithaca.
Yeah. It's like
in the
like that.
in the poem. I mean, he goes back between the Scylla and Charybdis and lets his raft go into the whirlpool and get spit back out. He lands on a different island. I think they're Phoenicians. They sail him back to Ithaca and sort of defend, he has to make a decision. What am I gonna, it's already 3 hours almost.
Yeah.
What am I
Right.
gonna do
Go full
to
six
kind of,
hours. Right.
what are you gonna cut out? And
Yeah.
unless you're gonna do a stupid Hollywood like part
Two
one,
parter.
or
Yeah.
yeah,
3 part.
in 2027, part two's coming,
The worst. The worst. Looking at you,
So
Dune.
I'm looking at you, 3-part Hobbit. It's just a fundamental difference, and I think people need to realize that from one.
And I think that's interesting because from there you get a look at what Nolan feels is important, and or how he wants to translate it and pick out themes that he really thinks are important, and also themes that he doesn't think are important. So I think you get a really good idea by him, by seeing what he wants to leave in and by what he wants to leave out. Sure, there's things like going to another island. I mean, I don't know. At that point, it's a bit repetitive. I think we've seen him get in the battles.
Yeah,
Okay, let's just get home. And by the time he gets home, I mean, we still have another hour to go.
yeah. So
Which,
I think he could have, honestly, I think he could have cut out the one where they go to the island and the giants come. What
yeah,
that's just going
true,
on the island and going back off the island or
right.
whatever. Like you
But
land and you leave. But it looks cool.
it does look cool. Yeah, sure. But if you take that out, it doesn't detract
I
from
don't
the
think
film.
that does not affect.
Right.
You know,
I think it's really interesting when you take that idea of, what he's leaving in, what he's taking out, and look at the character of Odysseus. And I think it's fascinating because I think he makes Odysseus into more of a modern sympathetic character
yeah, for sure.
because he's not having the affairs with, was it Circe? He's kind
Or
of,
Calypso.
or Calypso.
Really.
Oh,
At least they don't show it. They don't show it. I mean, but
right. Right. And yeah.
the poem is pretty clear that
Okay.
he has relations
He
with
has
both
relations.
Calypso and Circe.
And I think if you had shown that in today's, I think a lot of the sympathy for that character would go down. I think there would be a lot of people who look at his character, well, he's cheating on his wife, so and maybe he's not the best guy. And I think that's why Nolan also ramps up this guilt factor about the whole Trojan horse, which I think in the book, I made it through about half the book, not gonna lie. It was an audiobook, so maybe it was a little harder. I couldn't do it. Anyways,
yeah.
but in the poem or in Homer's story, he doesn't really, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think he really has that guilt about the Trojan horse. I think he just chalks it up to, this is war. I'm a great strategist. I was able to trick them, able to get the horse in, and that was part of
Which is kind
war.
of his character. yeah, that's kind of his character. Is that he's clever
Yeah.
and that he's and when he leaves Calypso's island in the book, he builds like a huge ship, like a I mean, she gives him all this, the best wood and all this, the fabric for the sails. And he builds like
Huh.
what I imagine, at least from the translation I read. It's like a big, beautiful ship that he would have sailed with from Ithaca.
Yeah. In the film, it's more like a Castaway.
Yeah.
For like a
He just strings
something of the
together
movie
some raft.
Castaway.
Yeah. Yeah. Which I suppose maybe seems a little bit more realistic in terms of where he is. But so related so the I think the two major changes are his character in terms of war and guilt and hospitality,
Yes.
right? Because so
Zeus's
I
law.
mean he actually changes Zeus's law to be much more like the golden rule. I mean it's really like,
That's how it comes out,
yeah,
right?
do unto others as you would have them do it to you. And in fact there's one point where it's very, very similar to that. And so there's so in one sense that's kind of an anachronism. It's a Christian anachronism,
Right. Right.
but then at the same time the gods are they're talked about a lot, but they are
They're not.
much less active
Yes.
visually or kind of in the story than they are in the book. And
They're kind of always there, but they're not physically present.
I mean there's a big storm, so they say Poseidon is
Yeah.
after them, but you don't see the same sort of activity like Poseidon throws a thunderbolt or
Yeah. Right. Right.
lightning bolt or throws the ship or throws a wave at them or something like that. And Athena, who is all over the book, constantly telling Odysseus and everyone else sort of what to do and how to do it, she's much more silent. And so I think,
She's an interesting character.
I find it interesting that people, I don't know what you say, Christians or conservatives or whoever, that I find it interesting that they're like, they took out the gods. And I'm like, you mean the mythical Greek gods that we don't believe in? Like those gods?
Like
To me
they
that,
just need God. Like the fact they took
yeah.
out God is like
So somehow
offensive to them.
some kind of religion is better than none. I'm not sure that that's the case.
Yeah,
Although
yeah,
I
yeah.
guess there's a case to be made for, C.S. Lewis says something like pagans are closer to Christianity than sort of unbelievers in anything. I don't know if that's true or not. Like the barrier between sort of natural and supernatural is thinner for paganism. But I think it's instead of saying, "Well, I don't like that because of this," maybe ask the question, "What is he after with that?" And you can disagree. I don't. There's no problem with disagreeing with what he's after, but if you're and I think also ask why I don't like that choice.
Yeah.
Is it because you know it, is it because I don't it cuts a little too close to modern understandings of things, which you could disagree with that, or what is the actual issue?
What I got from it, from the Odysseus character and what Nolan was trying to do with it is, and with a lot of the things is, I mean, make it modern, modernize it, but without making it too modern. But especially with regards to Odysseus, the character, because it seems like how he's portrayed in this film versus how he was portrayed when, when the story first originated. What are we talking? 700 AD? I don't know, whenever this story came about.
A long time ago,
A long time ago.
BC. I mean, BC.
But
It's BC.
I think it's interesting to see him portrayed in this way because it seems a more modern retelling of it, just to give him a more sympathetic edge. Instead of him being this mighty warrior, they give him a more humanistic side. I think he's like, I don't love war. It's because it's who I am. I'm put in this position, and then the whole guilt thing. I think
Yeah.
that's a huge thing. Is this guilt thing that
Yeah.
that
Which
doesn't
is,
really come out, and I think that's a
but
huge
that's a
part
real
of.
thing in, I mean, modern warfare.
Oh
I mean,
yeah,
that's,
and especially you see it in so many characters that have come out and recently is trying to give this whole let's humanize this character instead of this character of this general or warrior. Let's look at, you know, the humanistic side of them. What's going through them? What are their thoughts and their feelings? Or
yes.
instead of just this strong male masculine, hey, this guy maybe he feels guilty and he didn't really love
Yeah.
doing all this people doing,
Because so
killing all this people.
what's the
I
objection
think
to that? That he is, that Odysseus in the book is an unfeeling, clever soldier. I mean,
do you think he was
like what's the opposite of that?
do you think that would have been a more appealing character
No.
back then?
And I don't know. I mean, but the thing with ancient literature is that it very often is about, it very often does not give us insight into the psychological uh, sort of motivation or something. And so this is true of the Bible as well. There, you very rarely
Oh,
get you very rarely get motivations for why people do what they do. You just get their actions. And so
going back, sorry, just going back to what you said with the chosen, and that's kind of what they're doing with there too,
yep,
to put this
yep,
to
they're
more
making,
humanistic
yep,
characters instead of just this is what they said, this is what they did, trying to get into why they did that. Why they're making these decisions, what they were feeling when they made these decisions, what
and
caused
if
them
you're
to
gonna
make these
film,
decisions.
if you're gonna film something, you have to do that. I mean, what is the point? What would be the point of just redoing that kind of thing? Now, maybe you could say they shouldn't do it at all. Whatever. I mean, whatever. Make your case. But
Sure.
if you're going to do it, you don't have a choice. You have to do that. Now, okay. So some people might object to the fact that Odysseus in the film doesn't seem like he actually wants to get home at some points. There's some there's some hesitation, and in the book, that's
Yeah.
very much what he's after. I see in my mind there is a spectrum of objections or agreement. It could be agreement or objection to the way it's portrayed in the film. And you have the extreme ends that I think are like the culture wars things, which I making it's basically a proxy. I don't care what's actually in the film. I'm not even going to see the film. I just care what it's doing and or what it might be doing or what someone told me it's doing or whatever, whatever the
Yeah.
case. Those are the extremes that I don't have a lot of time for that kind of stuff. But you get closer and closer to the center and there actually are substantive maybe objections or agreements that I think are worth talking about. And for me, this is a this is I think I've struggled with this for a while. I mean, we've been doing this for 6 years or something, and sometimes I think, why are we arguing about movies or even talking about them?
Yeah.
Is it really worth spending time on? And I've just recently come to the conclusion that because movies are a form of fictional stories and stories of all, I don't think people can avoid this. This is the way we make sense of reality, by telling stories. And so when people make a movie, now they're not always doing this. Maybe they're just making movies to just make money. They're probably people. I mean, these people who make a crappy movie and they get some star to be in it for 10 seconds and they market them on the front of the box or whatever,
Yeah. Yeah.
and they sell, right? Okay, so there may be people who are doing that. But I think generally speaking, if somebody makes a movie, they have a story they want to tell and it's something that helps them or is some way of making sense of the world. or of themselves or of the way things are, something like that. I think that's what, maybe to go back to the beginning, maybe that's what these relationship and marriage films are about. They're trying to make sense of why would anybody be together with another person, and what does that actually mean? So everybody's doing this. And so when we get to actual real disagreements about films, and I think even in just what I like and what I don't like, what the real disagreement is about how we see the world. And I think that this might be more helpful than either the culture war stuff, or this, comes a little closer when Christians are like, this is the best movie I've ever seen because it talks about prayer or something, whatever. I'm not gonna.
Yeah, yeah.
We've talked enough about the specific names because everybody gets converted at the end. I don't know why Hollywood doesn't like this. Well,
Bring
because
all
it's
your
garbage,
friends.
right?
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
yeah, and yeah, pay it for. Okay, so I saw Young Washington. It's not bad. It's not the worst thing I've ever seen.
That's what. That's why.
You know,
That's. I think everyone who's seen it. That's what they said.
I mean, pretty good. Pretty good as far as what it is. I suspect that there might be a little sort of hagiography, sort of emphasizing Washington's, whatever. But when people are, oh, you got to pay this, we got to reclaim America by that's too much. You've gone beyond. Now you've gone beyond the story part of it, and
Took
now
it too
now you're
far. You
into
went too far.
something else. And now it's no more about, now it's not about the movie actually. It's about
Right.
it's about the function of it. It's not about the meaning of it, it's about the function, which is, that's the definition of a cliche, is what it does and not what it means. Because you got to ignore what it means if it's a cliche. And
Yeah, I don't know. What's the point of that? I guess is to
you're using it for something else.
gain people for your political side. I guess ultimately is you get enough people to, I don't know, open up and see things from your point of view. I guess I don't. And
Yeah.
then you can,
And I mean,
and then you win. Once
yeah,
everyone
I
sees
don't
things
know
from
what
your
you
side,
win.
then you win.
I don't know
The
what you win, but
you win the country, Tim.
yes.
But yeah, I
But
go.
so when you do that though, and I'm not just saying art for art's sake, because I think that's a little facile. There's a little, that's not quite, I don't think that there's something that doesn't ring true about that. That you just make art. That's, nobody does that. You
Okay.
are telling a story that matches some something that you believe about the world. Either what you think the world is or what you think the world should be. Your reality is reflected in the story you tell. So I don't think, you're not just making a painting or a movie. You're telling a story that actually has something to do with your reality. Um, and so
Okay.
so so even a story that, so you have an idea of America, and you're going to tell stories that sort of in some way push up against that. And so I think that that's sort of what, so if you have a different story of America, you're going to have a problem with the way that a film like that is told. If you have a different story of the way that men should be, you're gonna have an issue with the way that Odysseus is portrayed. But I think those are the conversations that are worth having if we recognize that. It's worth saying, I think that's wrong because of this. I see the world like this. I think that's actually worth doing. It's not a culture war thing. It's a sense of reality.
So when you think of this film compared to Nolan's filmography, I think there's a lot of things, a lot of themes that you can see. I mean, obviously the biggest one is him trying to get back to his family, because that's the main premise, plot,
Yeah.
storyline of this, which, I mean, huge in Interstellar,
I mean, Inception really,
Inception, and
even though it's set up as a different thing.
Yeah,
but
right.
ultimately it's
Ultimately.
about trying to get home to a world that really doesn't exist anymore. And I think that that's a consistent theme. So
And another one is, and especially with this one, is this idea of guilt that's carried with him, which is a huge thing in Oppenheimer. Right
yeah,
after he blows
yeah,
up the bomb, oh crap, what have I done?
yeah.
And that's kind of
So the
Odysseus
yeah,
here is, man, I broke Zeus's law. Crap, what have I done? I
yeah.
I destroyed the city of Troy. Shoot, man.
Which maybe there's something worth reflecting there, worth reflecting on in that theme that we don't have to make it. Well, that's not what he's like in the book. Okay. I mean, why, if you're going to just do, if you're going to, so, I mean, it's the stupidest thing to say, I'm going to make an AI version and it's going to be exactly this or whatever. That's the dumbest thing. You're not telling a story then. You already have that story. Why do that? You already have the story.
Yeah,
Anybody can read the book.
you think there's any merit in that? I mean, having something where people read and then just to put it visually and for people to be able to see it, see that world as
I think
opposed
they're doing
to
two
just,
different things. Well,
okay.
but what is that world? You can't just say there is
I
no
mean, they're
such
different
thing.
mediums.
Yeah, but even beyond that, when I read it, I have an idea of what that world is. How much I know about ancient Greece plays into that, but I mean, it's mythical, right? So it's not even it's not even like it's taking place in a particular time and place that historically we can sort of identify. Oppenheimer does. I mean, there's a particular historical time and place that actually people have written. We can go there. You can't go to Homer's Greece. I mean, there is Cyclops. The gods aren't running things. So, what world
Yeah.
are you actually going to? And beyond that, when you read something, you are automatically interpreting it. And so what the only thing that you're actually doing is giving different people's interpretations of it. And I don't so it's not like you're saying, well, that's not the real world. This is. That's stupid to say that. You missed the entire point and you're living in an unreal that's not reality to say, oh, well, if I do an AI version, I will get it exactly the way it is in the Odyssey. Well,
Uh-huh.
what? According to which translation? And what are you actually trying to reclaim? You're trying to reclaim the mythical world where gods run everything and fight against humans, or what? What are you actually after?
Yeah, right. Because even if you do that, you're implanting your own themes
You have to.
and tone.
You
You
have to.
can't. Yeah. See, so your argument is that you have to change it. It's kind of,
Well,
yeah,
it's not even, you're not, what are you changing? My argument is even before that, what would you be changing? You're not as soon as you tell the story, as soon as I describe what happens in the book, I am making choices about that put things together in a certain order. And so even so my story, my understanding of the world actually causes me to put the story together in a particular way. And I'm not saying there's nothing there at all. There is something there because I'm putting something together, but I'm putting something together. And so Nolan is putting something together that he got from the Odyssey. He didn't he didn't make it up out of nothing. Otherwise, why tell the Odyssey,
yeah.
right?
Or why call it the Odyssey?
Yeah, just make your own story. Like what's the one? Man of Constant um
Man, what? Man of what?
Man of Constant Sorrows. What that comes? What is the movie? What's the movie with?
The Return?
No, an old one. It's like a
I don't know where you are right
George Clooney. Three guys. They're on a
now. Oh,
what is?
brother, where art
Yes.
thou?
Okay. So that's a retelling of the Odyssey. No,
Fantastic.
as far as I
Fantastic.
remember, nobody was like, you know what? That's not really what the Odyssey's about. when they
John
did that
Goodman
movie.
with the one
Yeah,
eye.
yeah. Or the sirens, right? Who
Fantastic.
they entrap John, I don't know, whatever his name is.
That's true.
Is it
But maybe it's
Turturro's? Is
because they
Turturro
went,
in that one?
yeah, yes, because they go so far away and they never,
Okay,
it's because they don't call it the Odyssey, Tim.
okay,
So
maybe,
that's why
but
they can do
still,
that.
but I would say that fundamentally they're doing the same thing. Nolan is doing the same thing.
Okay.
He is interpreting it in a particular way
Yes.
to
Okay.
what he draws out of it.
I think a lot of times, and I think Nolan is lucky here that he is able to do what he wants. He's able to write the story he wants. He's able to film the film he wants because he's got that credibility. I think there's a lot of films, and a lot of films that you get the studios involved, you get producers involved, and ultimately it comes down to, well, we want you to make a great film, but really, we just want our money back. And I think that a lot of times, once that
They
gets
got their
into
money
it,
back on this.
yeah. Well, and I'd like to think at this point, Nolan just has a blank check.
I
Do
would
whatever
think
you
so.
want. You're going to make money. And he's earned that. And I think he's maybe one of the few directors that could do that, because I think there's so many other filmmakers that don't have that luxury. And like you kind of mentioned earlier, to get a film made, they need to put a name on it. And that's the only way that they're going to get funding for their film. And a lot of times, because I see so many of them. So I screen so many of these films where you can tell that's not the film that they wanted to make. They're not saying what they want to say. They're saying that because they feel like they have to say that maybe just in order to get their film made, get this one made. And then
Yeah,
once you do enough, you get on a certain level where then you can make the film that you want to make. But so many times there's so many outside
yeah,
influences going into your film. So it's not your film. There's writers, there's directors, there's producers, the editors, the ones that put it together.
yeah.
And when you add all those in there, it's not just one filmmaker.
Sure, that's true. Yes,
So,
it is.
I do think, going back to, I think it is kind of Nolan's film. Just to, circle back around. I think
Yeah,
he is. I
I
think he's
mean,
saying what he wants to say, and I think
yeah,
he's telling the story that he wants to tell.
which is a story that touches on the themes that, as we said, he touches on in probably all his films, and you know, that's those sorts of themes of family, relationships, going home,
Uh
guilt,
huh.
time. I mean, time is a big one, and
Yeah,
this
not
one,
the non-linear storyline,
yep.
which he does
I
a
mean,
lot.
and so how does that connect? I mean, so he's telling those stories from a different angle. And I mean, you're right, there are very few filmmakers who can do exactly what they want to do. We've talked about Ari Aster. I think Beau is Afraid. I didn't know
You
if
might have
there
taken it a little
anybody
too
was
far with that one.
I don't know if anybody was going to let him make any movies after that, but he has. And
Yeah.
I think people are going to let Curry Barker make the next film however he wants.
Right.
Somebody is. There are a few. There are a
Because
few.
of obsession.
Yeah, that may be the dream for certain people, but that's so few and far between.
Right. Right.
That's just not. And you're right. Sometimes I'll watch a film and I'll be like, I saw what the idea was. I saw what you're after.
Yeah. Right.
But then and for various reasons, time, money, producer, whatever the case may be, you pulled back a little bit. You had to because of whatever. And or maybe you just didn't have the creative ability to sort of push it. I mean, who knows?
Yeah.
It's hard to say.
Right. Right.
But I think that what I guess more than anything, I think this film is going to stand up. I think I think people are going to revisit it. It's a little bit harder when it's almost 3 hours, but I think people are going to revisit it. And the fact is, nobody's been stopped from seeing it. I don't think. I mean, the the 70 millimeter one at Indianapolis is they had extended it for at least a week, and they were almost all sold out still.
I've
And
heard they extended it through September or even further.
and they
Because I
might,
think the
yeah,
next big IMAX release is Dune, and that's not coming out till, is it October or November?
I don't know.
I don't know. Something, but I think
But
that's the next big IMAX release. So,
I
and
mean, why
yeah, that's
wouldn't
what
you? If everything is sold out, why wouldn't you?
I it it's so great for film right now. And I think there's so many people who are excited about this IMAX because this is the first film that was shot entirely on IMAX cameras. And
Yeah.
I think it's a
Did you see
great
that?
moment. What? Oh,
Go
it's
ahead.
a great moment for film right now. It's it's an epic film. It's tremendous. It's got it's got the action. It's truly an epic film, I think, in every sense of
Yeah,
that word.
not too many of those have been made recently. Lord of the Rings, covers is that sort of thing,
Uh-huh.
and
I
at
think,
that point in time, you could do 3 movies in 3 years and still keep people. I think
yeah,
we watched it. We went as a family maybe every Christmas time and watched those films in a row.
I
But
think, I think Dune will be good. I love the first two. I think the third one's going to be just as good. I'm just as excited to see the third one. I think Avatar is kind of, I don't know. I didn't see the last one, but
I
in
didn't
ter-
see the last two.
I I can't say that I'm excited for the new Marvel Doomsday. I think is that what it is? Avengers Doomsday.
People love Spider-Man, man, that made $1 billion in 6 days or something.
Yeah, yeah, and that's another thing that I think is it's great for cinema. And I think it's a good time, great time for movies right now. Great time to hit the theaters. There's a lot of good stuff out and a lot of good stuff coming. So let's go. Final thoughts. What is your You think this will is this your favorite film of the year so far, Tim?
I mean, it's definitely going to be in the top five. I think.
Yeah.
I don't think it's going to get knocked out of the top five. I don't have a lot of films in my top 10 right yet, and this I feel like this happens to me every year, where I'm
Oh
like
yeah. Oh yeah.
at least halfway through the year, and we're already more than halfway through the year. What are there going to be 10 films? I don't know. And then I end up watching films, into January and February, where I finally kind of fill it out. I think it's in my top five. I'm probably I'm going to see it again. I'm going to see it in 70 millimeter. I have a ticket. I got to sit in the second row because that's the only seats that were,
Does it
I didn't want to sit in
recline?
the front row. I hope so. Although I talked to somebody who said he was sat in the fourth row and it wasn't that bad. So I'm kind of hoping it won't be too bad. And but I think it'll probably get cemented around 4 out of 5 stars for
Yeah.
me. You know, like I said, I have issues with it, but it didn't destroy it. The issues that I have didn't destroy
Right.
my experience of it.
I
So
think
we'll
I
see.
think my biggest gripes. I think it was the casting. Ultimately, it wasn't that big of a deal, but the moments that were there were distracting, and it took me out of the film. Shoot. Okay, one more. John Bernthal. I don't know. Didn't love him. Didn't. To me, he's like he's a tough talking New Yorker, and
Yeah.
that came out in this
All I see
film.
is the Punisher,
Yeah.
which is always his character, I feel like.
Yes. Like when one person plays one character and that's kind of all you see him. Although Tom Holland is kind of a Peter Parker, you know?
Yeah, he's kind of a Peter Parker.
I
Maybe
didn't,
that's
yeah,
why everybody
anyway,
loves
I didn't love
Spider-Man. I mean,
Bernthal,
I
but
did.
that's,
I thought Tom Holland. This is probably his first really kind of mature role that he's had to kind of
yeah. Yeah.
And so I thought he did all right. I mean, I thought
I
I
wonder
did.
if they got
I
like a
don't.
2-for-1 discount with Zendaya and Tom Holland. They get like a discount because they're married or something.
Yeah, it's all going to the same house, right? Um, you know, so I thought I'd give Tom Holland 6 or 7 out of 10 in
Yeah.
terms of. So I mean, he didn't mess it up for me, and I
Yeah.
think the only the parts that I didn't really like were not his fault. They were the writing. I thought he, I thought it was, I don't think they gave Zendaya enough to do. Again, like she's sort of this presence who
Yeah.
hovers around
Okay.
Odysseus.
All right.
She can do more. Obviously, the drama she does way more.
Yeah. I would have liked to see her a little more because to some extent, she's kind of like a little moral
Yeah,
compass for Odysseus, and she kind of
yeah,
just shows up and I don't know, like his little therapist that kind of just
yeah.
goes around with him.
And that's a different function. That's a different function from in the book,
Right, right.
but it works. I think it works in terms of the character because when they kill I think this is something. Here's something that I think Nolan explores that's maybe not explored, that I haven't really seen a lot of people talk about. When he has Zendaya's face on the Athena, the priestess of Athena in Troy. I mean, the fact that the Trojan horse is an offering to Athena, who is helping Odysseus throughout the whole story. I think there's a seam in the story there that he explores that I think that may actually be the lasting, the more subtle, lasting contribution of this to the story is how does that actually work? The Trojan horse that's an offering to Athena, that is the means by which they destroy Troy, and yet Athena is the one who helps Odysseus constantly. He's she's making his ship go faster. She goes and
Yeah.
tells Telemachus to go and visit and find out about. She's everywhere in the film, in the book. I think that's a really fascinating thing that he kind of doesn't in depth explore, but it's there.
Yeah, for me, it kind of plays into the Odysseus guilt factor. Is
Yeah,
she kind of
sure.
hypes it up without being like, Odysseus, you really shouldn't have done that. But the fact that she's there, she's kind of this constant reminder of what he did. And without being explicit about it, she's kind of this reminder of the guilt.
I'm probably 4 out of 5, and I think that it's going to stand up, and I think people are going to. I don't think. I think some of the extreme discourse is going to fade because culture war stuff comes and goes, and I think it's going to be. I think people are going to talk about it. I think it's going to stand up. So
Yeah. And I understand a lot of because it's such a huge film and any hot take that's going to be different than someone else's, I think is going to get some traction and you're going to get clicks. So I think there's definitely a certain amount of that to be, to get people to listen to your
all
opinion. Like,
publicity.
yeah,
Is there any bad publicity? I don't know. I
no,
don't. It doesn't seem like it with this film.
right. So I understand that, but I think overall it, it was great. It was great. I enjoyed it.
Yeah,
I think,
me
yeah,
too.
it'll be in my top 10, I'm sure.
Yeah. So,
So, because I'm not
all
going to
right.
watch any other films for the rest of the year. So it's
Yeah. Right.
by
Right.
default. No, I'm kidding.
So anyway, you can tell us what you thought. You can send us an email, comment on the episode at Facebook or X or Instagram. There's enough. Everybody else sharing their opinion. You might as well. You can disagree with us. We don't care. Worth talking about, I think, in
Mhm.
terms of stories and what people are after. So go to our website, saintscinema.com, and see all our episodes there. This is episode 94. And next time.
All right. Thanks for listening.